Orders of the day.
Ballot item number 12, private member's notice of motion number 20. Mr. Moridi.
Mr. Moridi.
Speaker, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to move this resolution today, which reads that in the opinion of this House, the Government of Ontario must demonstrate in its promotion of diversity the acknowledgement of the first day of spring, which may be any time between March 20th to the 22nd, as Nowruz.
Mr. Moridi has moved second reading of private member's notice of motion. Oh, sorry. Yes. Mr. Moridi has moved private member's notice of motion number 20. Mr. Moridi, pursuant to Standing Order 96, you have up to 10 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Nowruz is the ancient Iranian festival of spring. In harmony with rebirth of nature, the celebrations begin at the exact moment of the vernal equinox, commencing the start of the spring. Nowruz is the new year among Iranians and always begins on the first day of spring, which may be any time from March 20th to March 22nd, at the exact moment when the sun enters Aries. Nowruz ceremonies are symbolic representations of the ancient concept of rebirth. At the beginning of spring, the festival of Nowruz signifies rebirth, hope, peace, and prosperity, and is a time of great joy and celebration. The name comes from Avestan, meaning a new day, and was officially acknowledged and named Nowruz by mythical Persian Emperor Jamshid Shah. Its non-ethical and non-religious characteristics is the precise reason for the fact that Nowruz is still prominent outside the political boundaries of modern Iran and is widely celebrated in various Central Asian countries such as Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan, and in the Republic of Azerbaijan, part of Pakistan, India, and China, and in the Kurdish region of Turkey, Iraq, and Syria. Nowruz is the beginning of the official calendar of Iran and Afghanistan, and is the official New Year in Iran, Azerbaijan, and Afghanistan. It has also been adopted as the official New Year feast by the Baha'i faith due to their roots in Iran. Ismaili Shia Muslims who trace their origin to Iran also celebrate Nowruz. Nowruz, with its uniquely Iranian characteristics, has been celebrated for at least 3,000 years and is deeply rooted in the traditions of the Zoroastrian belief system. The main characteristics of Nowruz involves such specialities as feasting, visiting friends and relatives, the giving and receiving of gifts, wearing new clothing, and most importantly, the half-seen table. The half-seen table, which represents the arrangements of 7 items, begins with a special piece of cloth of the highest quality draped over a table upon which lays a mirror and 7 specific items whose names all start with the phrase S in English and Sin in Persian. The number 7 has been considered as sacred in Iran since antiquity, and the 7 dishes stands for the 7 angelic heralds of life, rebirth, health, happiness, prosperity, joy, patience, and beauty. The symbolic dishes that are displayed on the half-seen table consist of sabze, which is sprouts of wheat or lentil representing rebirth and life. Samanu, which is a pudding made of wheat sprouts and transformed into a sweet, creamy pudding that represents the ultimate sophistication of the Iranian cooking because of its complexity. Sib, meaning apple, and representing health and beauty. Senjed, the sweet yet dry fruit of the wild olive that represents love and passion. Seer, which means garlic in Persian, represents medicine and good health. Sumak, which is a berry, represents the color of sunrise with the notion that the God's sun conquers evil. Sirke, or vinegar in Persian, represents age, patience, and wisdom. To reconfirm the symbolism of Nowruz expressed by the traditional food of the Hafsin table, I must represent the other elements and symbols that are also placed upon the Hafsin table. Books of tradition and the wisdom are essentially laid out in great pride. These tend to usually be a copy of the Holy Quran and or scripts, or a book of the poems of Hafiz, the great Persian poet and philosopher. A few coins of gold color representing wealth, and a basket of painted eggs representing fertility and the rebirth are also placed on the Hafsin table. Goldfish swimming in a bowl of water represents the great Anahita, the angel of water and fertility, which is the main purpose of the Nowruz celebrations. The fish also represents life, and the most importantly, the end of the astral year associated with the constellation pieces. A flask of rose water, known for its magical cleansing power and the wonderful scent, is also included on the Hafsin table. Pots of flower or willow branches, figs, pomegranates, and or olives are all significant representing time. Nearby is a brazier for burning wild rue, a sacred herb whose smoldering fume are said to ward off evil spirits. On either side of the mirror are two candle bearers holding a flickering candle for each child in the family and representing enlightenment and happiness. The mirror represents the past, present, and the future, and is a reflection of creation as we celebrate the first day of spring, or Nowruz. Typically on Nowruz, family members gather together around the Hafsin table and await the exact moment of the arrival of spring. At that time, gifts are exchanged. One of the most important rituals celebrated during Nowruz is that people are expected to pay house visits to all their family members, friends, and neighbors, and complete this ritual before 13th day of spring. Typically, the youngest visits their elder first, and elders return their visits later. The visits naturally have to be relatively short, otherwise one will not be able to visit everybody on their list. Every family announces in advance to their relatives and friends which days of Nowruz are their reception day. Some Nowruz celebrations believe that whether a person does on Nowruz will reflect on the new year. So if a person is warm and kind to their relatives, friends, and neighbors on Nowruz Day, then the year will be a good one. On the other hand, if there are fights and disagreements, the year will be a bad one. Also, many people do a significant amount of spring cleaning prior to Nowruz to rid the house of last year's dirt and germs in preparation for a good new year. The 13th day of the New Year festival is celebrated and called as Sizdah Bedar, meaning 13 outdoors. It often falls on or very close to April Fool's Day. People go out into nature in groups and spend all day outdoors and celebrate in the form of family picnics. It's a day of festivity in the nature where children play and the music and dancing is abundant. On this day, it's customary for young single women to tie the leaves of the sabzeh, prior to discarding it, symbolizing their wish to be married before the next year's 13 Abidar. When tying the leaves, they whisper their wishes for the coming year. Mr. Speaker, Nowruz is an all-encompassing national ceremony which many nations feel emotionally attached to. It's considered to be the unveiling of the gates of happiness and the strings which bind many nationalities, and more specifically all Iranians, upon a loving, observed feast of a new beginning, a new season, and new year. Thank you.
Further debate, the member for Thornhill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am pleased to rise in this House